And now to hit on the topic of the SEC taking more hands-on approach to regulation, cryptocurrencies, and Polycon 18, we're joined by CEO of CrowdfundX, Darren Marble, who's joining us from Los Angeles. Darren, welcome.
So Polymath Network sponsored an incredible conference called Polycon in Nassau, Bahamas. It was the world's first security token event, talking about security tokens, which are really the future of initial coin offerings, or ICOs. Absolutely incredible gathering, incredible group of people and influencers, and very educational.
Okay, let me ask you this. There's a DC blockchain event. I'm sorry, Darren. There's a DC blockchain event. I know you're not there, obviously, but all of these events that are taking place all around the world, and the one that you were at in the Bahamas, are they concerned at all, the people there, about this recent SEC investigation? What's going on, all these subpoenas that were issued?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a prime discussion point. So look, $4 billion has been raised for ICOs in the last 2 years or so. 99% of that $4 billion was raised illicitly. Companies were raising capital without using a proper securities exemption or registering their ICO with the Securities Exchange Commission, or SEC. So the SEC is taking a close, hard look at this industry, and I think a lot of people are now looking at what are the proper exemptions that they can use to raise capital for tokens legally moving forward.
And they're particularly concerned, Darren, aren't they, about the ICOs, the initial coin offerings, and the chair of the SEC, Jay Clayton, told the Senate Banking Committee not too long ago that it was actually illegal, that people weren't abiding by those. So all this money has been raised by these ICOs for really some crazy things. We even reported one that may be in the offing with regard to ODB, the rapper's son, Young Dirty, that may be coming up in the near future. So, I mean, some of these things are sort of nutty out there. Is there a realization among those who don't want anything to do with the government, Darren, that maybe there is a role somehow for some government regulation here, or they just still want to say, no, nothing?
Look, there's absolutely a role and a need for government. There needs to be regulation. Otherwise, retail investors, Main Street investors, are at risk of losing their money. The role of the SEC is to provide investor protection to mainstream investors, everyday Americans that are curious, intrigued, fascinated about this space. The good news is there are a number of proper exemptions that innovative blockchain companies can use to raise capital in this space, primarily Reg D, which allows accredited investors or wealthy investors to legally invest in deals, and also Regulation A+, which we talked about last time, a more new securities exemption that allows private companies to raise up to $50 million annually. So I think we're at a turning point in this industry where, the last 2 years, companies were going out raising money for so-called utility tokens. In fact, they were securities that needed to be registered or find a proper securities exemption. The SEC and Chair Clayton have been very clear that on a go-forward basis, companies need to really think carefully about how they're going to raise capital and issue security tokens so that they are abiding by the laws, and I think that's good for everyone involved.
I agree with you 100%. I hope that is the view of more people out there. You articulated it very well. You don't want anything that really thwarts innovation, but you want to make sure that there aren't bad actors and fraudsters out there. My old agency, Darren, the CFTC, has recently done some enforcement actions, including with Cabbage Tech, for fraud. And some of these folks doing the ICOs are just collecting the money and using it for their own personal goods. And let me ask you about another area of potential regulation with regard to the cryptocurrency space, and that is the actual exchanges. We've seen twice, and we reported this the other day on the program, we've seen twice this year where the digital wallets have been hacked. In total, that's up to $700 million, or at least $700 million. And the previous high was Mt. Gox, of course, back in 2014 at $475 million. How do we have confidence in cryptocurrencies, and I'd like us to have some confidence in them, when we see people forget about the markets moving up and down? Your wallet's being hacked and you're losing all your money. What are we going to do about that? Is it more regulation? Is that part of the answer?
It actually is. You make a great point. And look, retail investors need to be very cautious. As you pointed out, exchanges have been hacked recently, a year ago. They may be hacked next week. Part of the issue is that these are unregulated and unregistered exchanges. They should be registered with the SEC. And so, if you're a retail investor, you're looking at ICOs, you have to be willing to lose some or all of your money if you're going to invest in an ICO or start trading on exchanges that aren't registered. So again, the SEC is out not to scare people away. They're out to protect retail investors and Main Street investors. And I think moving forward, you're going to see more and more exchanges begin to register with the SEC. When you buy or trade stocks on NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, these are things you don't have to worry about. Your money is carefully guarded and protected. And we need to see an evolution here with exchanges, again, to protect retail investors from seeing exchanges hacked that were unregulated. So again, I think ultimately these are all good things for the industry and will result in positive changes moving forward.
Darren Marble, the CEO of CrowdfundX, thanks for being with us.